we'll have a look at medical record tracking labels in PCSE Online. So I just wanted to show you this slide again, just because it shows the roles that you need. So for managing any records in PCSE Online, you do need the practice record movement admin role. And again, if you don't have that role and you need it, get in contact with your main contact at the practice and they'll be able to assign that for you. Okay, so when a patient leaves your practice and joins a new practice, this is when a label will be generated and sent to your practice so you can forward the patient record to the new practice. Now, when you receive a label within your CitySprint delivery, you need to include that patient's record in a shipping bag, attach the label and provide that to CitySprint on your next collection day. Now, currently the system doesn't recognise if your practice has fully digitised its records. So if you do receive a transit label that you don't need, you can securely destroy that. Okay, so to manage your practice medical records in PCSE Online, again, you'll first need to log into your PCSE Online account and then select the Records and Supplies tab. Now, as you can see, you can select it at the top here that I've highlighted in green, or you can select it from the tile at the bottom. Now, as I've previously mentioned, if you log into PCSE Online and you don't see the Records and Supplies tab, say for example, this box doesn't exist and you've only got the Performer List tab there, that would indicate that you do not have the correct role in PCSE Online enabled to manage the records or supplies. So that's when you'll need to speak to your main contact to get the role. Okay, so when on the Records and Supplies homepage, to start managing your records, you'll need to select the Track Your Records tab, as highlighted in green. And again, just making sure that you are signed into the correct organisation before you start, which, as you can see, it's just up here on the right-hand side. Now, on the Records homepage, you'll see there's many different options available. So you've got your Records In tab, which shows the records that you're due to receive from another practice. And as you can see here on this example, this practice are waiting for 1,463. That's the amount of records that they've got outstanding from another practice. Now, we are also aware from the previous webinar that some practices do have a high volume in this area. So this is why we just wanted to touch on this. Within the Records In section, if you have received the physical record successfully, you can go in manually and mark the records as received by clicking on the movement number and then selecting In Storage at GP Practice. We just wanted to let you know that the no paper record status is to advise GPs that there should be no paper records and to expect the records to be received GP to GP. Now, if the records are not received successfully, GP to GP, and there are no other movement in the Records In section that shows the previous GP requesting a label, then you'll need to contact PCSE. Now, if you do need to contact us because of this, we just ask you to raise a case via the Contact Us page on the PCSE website, and then select the medical record movement inquiries, and then just making sure that you provide the details for the patient and the movement numbers. Now, if you do have multiple patients that you need to inform us about, you can export this list and include it on an Excel spreadsheet from PCSE Online and send us that, which would be much more efficient rather than sending in single inquiry forms to us. Okay, so just going back to the Records In section then. So if you wanted to view the records in this area, you'll select the View Records In tab. And here you will see a list of records you are due to receive at the practice. Now, this is a list of records that are due to be released from another practice as a patient has now joined your practice. When you receive the records in your CitySprint delivery, this area should automatically update. However, if it doesn't automatically update and remove the record from this list, like I've previously just mentioned, you can go in and manually accept the record. All you need to do is select the blue PCS number that you can see on the left. And again, you'll find with PCSE Online, if a number like that's in blue, it's clickable and it will open up the record in more detail. So say, for example, you wanted to confirm that you've received one of these records, you'll simply select the blue PCS number And then what will happen is you'll see a message pop up as similar to what's shown on screen. I've had to put some different details on here just because to keep it without any personal details on there. So you'll see that the patient name will appear. It will have the date of birth and the NHS number. We just request that you check that the details are correct before confirming that the records are stored at your practice. But if you're happy with the details that you can see and you're happy that you've got the records, in order to remove it from the records in queue, just simply select the in storage at GP practice, and that will then remove that record from your records in area. Okay, so we've got the records out tab, which shows the number of records you're due to release from your practice, sorry. So that would mean that a patient has left your practice and has joined a new practice. So as you can see from this example, there are 978 outstanding records that are waiting to be released from this practice. Now, by selecting the View Records Out tab, this will show you a list of patient details that are due to have their records sent to the new practice. So if we just show you, for example, if we select the View Records Out tab, this will be the screen that you'll be presented with, and this will be a list of all the patients that you should be receiving a label for when they're registered at the new practice. However, if you're confident that you have forwarded the new record and it hasn't moved from this section to a delivered status, then you will need to raise a case with our online inquiry team and just provide the details and the patient numbers. And again, if you've got multiple patients on the list, that can be provided on an Excel spreadsheet. And then the medical records team will be able to go in and sort that out for you. Okay, however, there is sometimes that you may need to order a new or an additional label for the record movement, and I'll quickly show you how to do that now. So going back to the records homepage then, if you need to order an additional label or a new label, you can do that through the Manage Movements tab, which is again highlighted in green. So if you select the Request Movement, this will take you to the Request Movement homepage. Now, when requesting a new label, you need to enter the patient's NHS number, and what will happen is once that number's been inputted, that should auto-populate all the areas that are in grey. However, if the NHS number isn't recognised, then you will need to manually enter all these details. But please ensure that if you are doing that you make sure that all the details have been included. Now, if you submit it with just the NHS number, when you get the label, it will only include the NHS number of the patient, and it will also affect any future requests for this patient, meaning that any label that you order will only have the NHS number on there. So please do just take care when you are requesting a new label that you try and include as many details as possible. Okay, so once you have entered all the details, you just simply select Submit, and then a label will be sent with your CitySprint delivery. Once you've received the label, you'll just return the record as normal within your next CitySprint delivery. Now, if you don't receive a label after around 3 weeks, that's when we advise you to contact PCSE using the PCSE contact form. Now, just be mindful as well about the 3 weeks if there are any bank holidays involved, for example, over Easter, because sometimes things can be delayed for those reasons. Okay, now, when you are requesting a label and you're prompted with this message, you will need to contact PCSE for further support. Now, this message is basically saying that the most recent registration that PCSE has for this record is at your practice. So it's basically still stating that the patient is registered at your practice. However, if that's not the case, then you will need to contact us for further guidance on that. Okay, so when raising a case through the online inquiry form, we ask that you select the medical records movement inquiry form, so it's then sent directly to the team to investigate. Okay, so I'm going to see if Ian has any questions around the movement of medical records and tracking labels.
Thanks, Debbie. Nothing specifically so far on the tracking labels. We've had quite a lot of queries around GP to GP movement and what happens if that fails. So the team have been answering those queries. But essentially, yeah, if GP to GP fails, we do say that for the sending practice, the records need to be printed out and sent GP to GP isn't a PCSE system, so we have no control over success rate of that. I know it's an awful lot better than it did used to be, but yeah, essentially if it does fail, the only way the receiving practice is going to receive the patient records is the physical record being sent across. If you do have, as they mentioned, if you do have labels which have not been received yet, just contact us with the details of which ones you're waiting for. There may be reasons why they've not been received. It could be that the patient is registered at more than one practice, so they've gone to one practice on Monday, and then on Tuesday had a change of heart and they've gone and registered another practice. That essentially will prevent the transit label being printed at all, and our back office team will have to go through and essentially unblock that movement to allow the transit label to be printed. Sometimes there's reasons like that, which is why transit labels are delayed. But yeah, if there's anything you're waiting for, as they mentioned, kind of 3 to 4 weeks and you're expecting it, just let us know. Easiest way is contacting us by email with the specific details, as that will go directly through to the back office team who'll be able to investigate and see if there's something which is blocking it in the first instance. We have had some queries, I think, from the last webinar around practice not getting transit labels every week. Sometimes that could just be a case of there aren't any for your practice that week. And it could be, again, as I mentioned, something that's stopping labels being printed. So just because you don't get a label pack every week, that's not an immediate cause for concern. We do have probably about 10% of practice we don't have a label pack for each week, so it's not out of the ordinary. But yeah, like I said, if you are expecting labels which you're not receiving, just raise the specific patient details through to us. There was another query just around main contacts and whether you can have more than one on a practice at a time. No, we do understand there are reasons where the main contact isn't available. It could be they're off sick, it could be they've gone on mat leave and aren't around for the next year. If you need to change your main contact, again, contact PCSE, and also all the advice for how to do that is on the PCSE website.